Hi, today I am going to be giving my review of the Heartstopper novella This Winter by Alice Oseman. So I recently read this after reading the 4th volume of Heartstopper. I knew that this novella existed, but I wasn't quite sure when in the Heartstopper series it took place. It basically takes place in the middle of the 4th volume, so I read it after reading the 4th and before reading the 5th. You may know that I've really been enjoying the Heartstopper series. I've been reading the graphic novels, but I want to read everything in the Heartstopper universe, and this is one of those other books that's in there. I know there's also another novella, and there's the Heartstopper yearbook. I think there's a coloring book as well, but I don't think I'll be getting that. But it's still cool that that exists. And I've really been enjoying this series. It's the only thing I've read by this author so far, but I definitely want to read some of her other books as well. They also sound interesting, and I really like the way that she has a lot of good representation and the way she handles a lot of topics, so I'm really enjoying her. And this was the first book of hers I read that was written in prose, because up until this point I had only read graphic novels from her. Although it is a novella, it does still have illustrations, which is really nice, which are of course done by her, and they're the same style as they are done in the Heartstopper graphic novels, and I think that they look really nice and cute, and they really fit the story. They're a nice addition. From my understanding, this is a newer illustrated version of the novella. I'm guessing it originally came out sometime after Solitaire, which is the novel where Nick and Charlie originally show up, but it's about Charlie's older sister. But I guess with the popularity and just the overall existence of the Heartstopper graphic novels, this came out, and I guess this edition that I got from the library is sort of a updated illustrated version, so maybe it didn't have the illustrations before. So I do believe there's an older edition out there, but mine had illustrations. So this little novella takes place on Christmas Day, and it contains the perspectives from all three Spring siblings. First it has Tori's perspective, then it has Charlie's, and at the end there's a little bit of Oliver's perspective. His perspective isn't as long as the other two. But yeah, it was nice to get all three of their perspectives, and up until this point I had only read the graphic novel, so I really only got Charlie's point of view and then some side characters, but when it comes to his family, I have not read anything from their point of view. I know Solitaire is from Tori's point of view, and I do want to read Solitaire soon. From Heartstopper and this novella, have learned more about her, and I've gotten to know her better, and I'm enjoying her more, so I'm interested in reading a whole novel from her perspective. And this novella is basically about the family wanting to have a normal Christmas, but they've been having some issues. There have been Charlie's mental health issues, and some of his family doesn't really know how to talk to him properly about it, or they don't really know how to support him. And it's just about them wanting to try to have a normal day even when things don't really feel normal. And it's just a short little story about that, about Christmas, about family. The whole story is less than 100 pages. I think there are physically more than 100 pages in the book, but at the end there's some art of Nick and Charlie, so that's nice. But the story itself is less than 100 pages, so it's pretty small, pretty short, but even with that, I think it still accomplishes a lot. Like, Heartstopper has generally been, from my experience, cute and wholesome and sweet and romantic, but it also tackles a lot of important topics in every volume. And I think that volume 4, which I really enjoyed and recently did a review of, and I've said is my favorite in the series so far, I felt was the heaviest so far. And this one is more heavy than lighthearted, I would say, but there are still some lighthearted things in this novella. For one, it contained the anorexia representation. I thought that it dismantled stereotypes and harmful ideas about psychiatric wards and mental illness treatment and recovery. While Nick is involved in this novella, I'd say that this novella mostly has a focus on Charlie and his family instead. So I think it's nice to see the author focus on that instead of it just being about Nick and Charlie all the time. But even in the graphic novels, it doesn't really feel like it's just about them too. Like, of course, they're the main focus of it, they're the main plot, but there are still the side characters like Charlie's family. But this novella, I think, is really more so about family than it is about their relationship. There's some family drama in this, but I wouldn't say the family is just like an awful family where it's just depressing because they're so dysfunctional. Like, I wouldn't even call them that. I wouldn't call them dysfunctional. I mean, they've got issues, but that's normal and realistic, but they're not like absolutely horrible and beyond hope. But there is some drama. In this novella, we learn more about Charlie's extended family as they visit for the holidays. I said there are illustrations, but there are also some text messages, so I thought that was cool. As I said, this was my first time reading anything in prose by this author, so what did I think of the writing style? I enjoyed it. I thought that it was easy to follow along with, but it was also good in terms of what it went over, and I enjoyed it. I felt that each of the point of views felt distinct. That's important. You don't want every character to feel the same. So I enjoyed it. I think I like this author's writing style. There wasn't a whole lot to this novella. It was still impactful and went over a lot of things, but I'm just saying it wasn't a whole novel, so I look forward to reading a whole novel from her and really getting to know her writing style a bit more. So in case you haven't read anything in the Heartstopper universe before, could you read this without having read any of the others? Well, I wouldn't really recommend it. I think that this book does introduce the characters and their situations and their problems, but I think you'd be more likely to care about them already if you've read at least Heartstopper or Solitaire before. And this is also basically in the middle of the story, in the depths of their problems, not when the story and those problems are introduced. So I wouldn't recommend reading it out of order like that, but if you really wanted to, like if this is the only one you're interested in, or maybe you want to read this to see if you'd be interested in the others, it would spoil the Heartstopper graphic novels a little bit, but not like the whole series. But you could do it if you wanted a little novella to see if you'd be interested in this universe. So that is my review of This Winter by Alice Oseman. I really enjoyed it. I really look forward to reading more of Heartstopper and more from this author. If you've read this or anything else in the Heartstopper universe or anything else by this author or anything that sounds similar, let me know your thoughts, and thank you for watching.